Hey guys, Richard here with Government Sales Momentum. Thanks for tuning in to this podcast slash video. Today I'm going to cover a very important aspect to selling to the government, and that is subcontracting. Now, you're going to see most businesses that are, continuing to sell to the government when they're doing it over the years, whether large or small, usually subcontracting is one of their strategies. And that makes sense for a lot of companies. There's a few areas where it might not, but I'm going to cover in this podcast three reasons why you would consider subcontracting and going after those type of contracts. I'll cover in another podcast the way that, or I would say, the strategies that I've used with my clients to become a subcontractor and form teaming relationships with other companies. There are a lot of strategies involved with that, and I think best saved for another podcast. But here, let's discuss why. So I think the prime reason that you would consider subcontracting is you see an RFP come down or solicitation of some sort, even maybe before that, maybe you see an RFI drop or a sources sought notification, and maybe 30% of the requirements that they're looking for is what you specialize in, whether it's, software development or user experience design or construction or you name it, cybersecurity. There might be a piece there that you really focus in, but you'll see that that's lumped in with a much larger contract that has other requirements in it. And that's done for a lot of reasons, mainly because on the government side, when I was in acquisitions with the Department of Defense, putting an RFP out there and going through the contracting process is a lot of work. So if you can put one big contract out there that covers a lot of different things, that can reduce the workload on the government side. Unfortunately, on the small business side, it could create more work for you, right? So you know that you can't cover all of the things the government's asking for, but you do one really well. That is an instance where you would consider subcontracting. And really, like I said, I'll cover this in another episode, but one really great strategy if you find yourself in that boat is you take that solicitation, you take that request for proposal, RFI sources sought, and then you go find another company with that. So having an opportunity and approaching another company that can do the rest of that work is a great way to form a teaming relationship. So that's one. You can't do all the work. Another reason you might consider subcontracting is you see that solicitation come out, right? And it is exactly what you do. It is perfect for your business. But then you see that they have already set it aside for maybe a veteran owned small business or HubZone or 8A, and you don't fit that category. So if it's already set aside for a certain sub tier of small business that you don't fit, that's not a reason to walk away from it. That is an opportunity for you to subcontract with another company. Same strategy I would recommend on that. Take that opportunity and then go, if it's reserved for 8A, go find some 8A companies that could do that work and say, look, I've got this great opportunity. We could do a piece of it. You could do a piece of it. What do you think? So that's number two. And the third, and this is not an all exhaustive list, but you will see solicitations that are intended for GWACs or large IDIQs, government-wide acquisitions contracts. These large contracts, what I mean by that is if you take a look at contracts like NASA SEWP, for instance, that would be a large GWAC, a large contract that is competed ahead of time where many companies, almost like an RFP, right? So you'll see a solicitation for a GWAC or a large IDIQ, and a bunch of companies. Let's say it's for IT services and software development and a few other things. You might have a couple hundred companies apply to be on that contract vehicle, and you go through the year-long process, and maybe it's down selected to 30 companies, right? Well, those companies aren't necessarily making any money. They're just on this vehicle. That vehicle allows the government to put delivery orders on those companies very quickly without having to go through a long process of competition because they've already competed to be on that contract. So often you'll see a perfect opportunity for your company, but you'll see that it's already set aside for a contract vehicle. So, hey, we intend to award this on NASA SEWP, or you might find out about an opportunity that's just going to be awarded on GSA. So those are other opportunities for you to reach out to companies that are either on the big contract vehicles or on GSA and say, hey, look, we've got this opportunity. We know it's coming up. We're really great at it. You're on the vehicle. Let's potentially form a teaming relationship and go after that. There are lots of ways to find out if companies are on these type of vehicles, but probably the main one is just the Google machine, right? So, you could Google some of the big contract vehicles and see what companies are on there. And then often just, additionally, if the same contracting vehicles are coming up within your category, that might be an indication that you want to be on some of those. And if you look at companies that are selling over the years, you'll see that they start accumulating things like a GSA schedule or a NASA SOUP or CIO SP3 or whatever the case may be, whatever fits their particular niche or specialty, they start accumulating these vehicles, which just make it easier for the government to hire them. And that's called category management. That is definitely a topic for another episode. But those are three areas where you could consider subcontracting. Very important because a lot of companies will see, one of those three categories come up and maybe just say, "Oh, this opportunity is not right for me." But I think a better perspective on that is this is an opportunity to partner with another company. And, that also has a lot of benefits. So what I've seen is, when we put two companies together and they're working together, going after subcontracting opportunities, a couple months down the line, the other company might find a new opportunity and then they'll bring it. And you can go back and forth priming. You can take turns priming and subbing depending on the relationship. So again, just some thoughts on subcontracting, and hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're at richardchoward.com, and you can find us on our podcast on most of your major podcast hosts. So, all right, take care.